So if you're wanting to stick around, you're going to have to go build some houses for a while. And I thought, hey, all right, I'm going to be a builder. I'm going to get me a magnet, put it on the side of my truck, drive around, tell a bunch of people what to do. Not nearly the case.
Tulsa Talks is the podcast that is inspiring people to have everyday meaningful conversations to gain perspective and help the world.
Welcome to Tulsa Talks. Today's guest is Sean Stevens. We're going to talk about the multi-generational business that he and his wife run, M&M Lumber. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you.
So, was this your intent? Was this your life work that you thought you would have when you and Whitney got together in high school?
Fair question. Absolutely not. I didn't even know that she had anything to do with a lumber yard. It was honestly, it wasn't until I got a job working at a lumber yard at M&M with her brother that I realized how everything really came together. So no, for me, working a lumber yard was just throwing 2x4s in the back of a truck and just trying to make rent. And it wasn't the way I was going to do it for the rest of my life. What
were your life ambitions?
Yeah, I was, it was clearly scripted. We were going to come out of college and I'd work in the safety engineering field. Had plans to work probably at some point we'd be in refinery business for a while, working safety, doing site visits and such like that. And then the goal would be to move to a port city where we would be maybe in a Houston, a New Orleans, a Los Angeles, something like that, work around bigger industry. And then like everybody else that came out of school with me, we'd all report back to Bartlesville and retire from Phillips 66. That was the plan.
So you had a full plan.
Oh, a total plan. Absolutely. Yeah. And Whit was in health education, so she was pretty versatile in what she could do. She could, anywhere that I went, she'd be able to get on with in the medical field, either at a hospital or a smaller facility.
So what happened?
Well, sometimes you just pivot when it goes that way.
No, I mean, what caused the pivot?
That's a fair question. It was really her dad. I would almost say, in complete transparency, it was the millennium bug. I don't know if anybody actually remembers that, but there was the computer systems. Apparently,
I slept through that midnight. I remember exactly where I was.
The computer systems apparently couldn't carry a 1 or something.
2 more digits. They made it a 2-digit sequence instead of 4. Yeah. And they were it's like 1980 instead of 1980. They made it 80. 89, 99, and when it went to 2000, they didn't know what was going to happen when those 4 digits come on instead of the 2.
That's right. So her dad had always tried to find a place for me, but he moved me around a lot wherever the need was because I didn't know anything about the lumber industry. Quite frankly, I didn't know anything. I knew how to catch on fire because that's what I went to school to study about through the fire protection safety engineering program at Oklahoma State. And I knew that if this thing caught on fire, it was going to be a good one, but that was about it. So he moved me around a bunch. And then ultimately, when they told us that the computer systems were going to come to an end, he said, hey, you got a college degree, go find us a computer system. And that kind of started me working more with the guys inside where I hadn't really worked with. I was mostly ops-based. I was outside driving trucks, building doors, doing that type of deal.
So somehow you were college educated and well-rounded outside operations, so you know hands-on what it takes for your guys to do what they do. And you spent a while doing that. Then you were engaged inside through computer acquisitions and making sure that they work, hoping that they would work. Yeah. And so you went through the natural path of being groomed to do what you do. In hindsight, right?
I suppose it really was her. It really was her dad, Jim McKellar, who, if I refer to J-Mac, that's who I'm talking about, is J-Mac. At some point, I can't remember what part of my journey, but at some point he told me at dinner one night, he's like, you really don't know much about this industry. So if you're wanting to stick around, you're going to have to go build some houses for a while. And I thought, hey, all right, I'm going to be a builder. I'm going to get me a magnet, put it on the side of my truck, drive around, tell a bunch of people what to do. Not nearly the case. He hired a guy named Jay Shetler to graciously allow me to be a gopher on his squad of framing. And I framed a winter season, because that's when the lumberyard's the slowest. So I framed houses with a guy, and it was an old school frame crew. They never let me use the framing gun, and they never let me off the ground until probably the last month and a half that I was framing with them. They called me Lightning. They gave me the nickname Lightning. I was like, whoa. It's
because you were slower than Christmas?
No, I was like, because I'm fast, right? And they're like, no, it's because lightning never hits the same place twice. just everywhere with a hammer. So, yeah, I owe them a lot for kind of teaching me, honestly, not to prejudge the guys that come in the store that are, hot, sweaty, maybe have half a shirt on, just look like they've been, drugged through the mud and everything like that, and not to discount what their capacity is, because when you look at what guys are able to build by their hands is pretty incredible. What's going on in their minds to be able to do that.
So you say that people that are great framing guys, professional tradesmen, might not be the highest level communicators,
Sure.
might not be,
Yeah.
but they're good at what they do.
Absolutely.
Maybe they are great communicators as well, but sometimes it happens that people seem like they don't know anything.
That's right.
And they seem like they're just inept at everything if you meet them on the surface.
That's right.
But then go watch what they do.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, the crew that I was with, quite frankly, they could cut an entire roof system in standing on the ground with just a couple numbers, just a couple measurements. And to me, that was always phenomenal coming from my side of the way I was formally trained, where everything had to fit perfectly into a CAD program, or, had to be authorized by code or some sort of statistic, right?
Right. And these guys are like, man, you're really overthinking it.
Totally. They call it is called champlication, is what everybody that I work with is like, hey man, you're kind of champlicating it right now. I'm like, okay, you're right. We should probably just keep moving. I champlicate it.
Yeah. I've heard that anybody can make something complicated. It takes a genius to make it simple.
Yeah, I would be the complicator.
Me too, in some aspects of my life.
Yeah.
But people like us still can make processes and procedures that anybody can follow, as well as, I don't know about you, but I can make it complicated for just a period of time and then really simplify and streamline it.
Yeah.
Which, people that are tradesmen don't need me to make it complicated. I need to leave them alone and let them do what they do.
It's true. Yeah, the majority of my involvement, I usually just stay out. I'm just so really fortunate with the group of people that work around us that if there's an exception, maybe I get involved. But usually it works. They've already figured it out. Yeah.
So what do you do? How do you keep yourself busy and
Yeah.
keep from Sean?
Well, complicating things. Yeah, I do as little as possible, right? That's everybody's goal.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're fully engaged. You're there most of the time. I come by and I'll see you.
Yeah,
and we are not professional builders, but we've remodeled a couple of houses, including mine and daughter's, and one flip house. And we were in the concrete business, which your father-in-law told you that you better get some training if you're going to continue in this field. And my uncle, I told you that he was a pretty major home builder in Southeast Texas. And back in the 80s, I told you he was a go-getter, and he would pour concrete with the guys, and he would build an average of 5 houses or 6 houses a week on ongoing flow. So 300-ish houses from what I understand, or maybe more some years. And he was out there pouring concrete with the guys. That was his thing. He, instead of going to the gym, he was pouring concrete. And he was one of the. You ever seen those guys in the gym that yell and scream and like maybe even slap each other a little bit to get motivated? Yeah. He was like that on the concrete team, right? In his mid 50s, 40s, whatever it was. And he made this comment to me one time. And the funny thing is for a period of time, we transitioned from landscape irrigation to concrete and retaining walls as our business model. And then we only built retaining walls at the end. But he said, Craig, you better find something else to do for a living because you're not going to make a living pouring concrete. And because I couldn't do it. I didn't have the hand for it, didn't have the eye for it. But I guarantee you I could do this. I could find people that needed concrete. I knew how the concept and precepts of it and the way to do it. And I could find people that actually could do it. Yeah. And that relieved me, let me step back and let them do it. And what do you do again? Yeah. So my ultimate responsibilities, my current title is the presiding figurehead of unforgettable entertainment. So what that basically means, I'm just a head circus leader is all it comes down to. You have the personality for that. I believe at some point, the role fits me well. We are very fortunate in the way that our operation works, that we don't need a lot of guidance. We don't have a lot of turnover in our operation. We just hired on our first employee in a year that we've brought on into our group. And so we feel very fortunate in the generation of people we work with when it comes down to that. We're multi-generational families work with us. So feel fortunate in that. My ultimate job is to help cover an inventory, make sure operations, I run operations ultimately, and the sales force when it comes down to it. So a little bit of everything. I have a lot of respect for what you described in your uncle, because at the end of the day, nothing feels better than getting out into the yard with the guys, or getting into the shop, or going on a sales call, and meeting the people that are coming in on a daily basis and getting them taken care of and doing the service part. So that's really where the sweet spot's at for me. Yeah. All throughout my career, I enjoyed getting out there and physically working with the guys some. Said I couldn't pour concrete. Well, I could hold a hose for a pump truck, or I could run a Georgia buggy, or I could run a Bobcat. But the finishing is what I'm talking about. These guys, it's amazing the craftsmanship that they have, and they can't. Some of them couldn't add. Some of them couldn't read. Yeah. But you put a finishing tool in their hand, put them on a finishing machine, put them on a screed board, they can do that. And it's amazing the way that we're all gifted differently. What was your title again? Because that sounds like a fun thing. I understand what you do, but it's an interesting title. Yeah, it's a presiding figurehead of unforgettable entertainment is what it is. Unforgettable entertainment. That's right. And you guys have signs out there at M&M Lumber that are unforgettable. Cute. Yeah. Oh, on the marquee that's out front. Yes. That's right. Yeah. 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 Who comes up with those? It's the community inside. We all do come up with it, but mostly Whitney and JoJo, one of our outside salespersons. Yeah, I've known her for years. They're kind of the queen bees on that. They run it all the time. Wise gals. Wise gals, that's fair. Yeah. Instead of a wise guy, because all those marquees, I say all of them, 99% of those marquees are wise, just cracks, wise cracks. Attention getting, fun. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about the way that you guys market, advertise, and you don't look for people very often because your team stays with you. Yeah. But I remember what you just said. And I remember one of your advertisements, listening to it when I used to listen to the radio. Within the last decade, you said something like, join a fun family and get paid to do your exercise. Yeah, that sounds right. Get paid to exercise. Come join our fun family of business, or however you said it. And the most important thing, and that's what I told my guys for a couple of years, that we're getting paid to exercise. And plenty of exercise there was to have in that field that we were in. So multi-generational business and the challenges of that, and your in-laws, they're still alive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Jim and his wife. Yep. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law.
And they're somewhat active in the business?
Yeah. Jim's, Ann isn't as much, anymore. She's mostly at home, but J-Mac, he's in every day. Yeah. He plays a great role in our operation. It's unique because, I'm doing more and more of the buying for our inventory and stuff. We still split that up some, and Jim's still extremely involved in it, very much involved in the market. So the market being a commodity of, lumber being a commodity market. And what's unique about us is that I may do a lot of the buying, have a lot of the mill relationships. I'm moving around the country a lot, talking with guys at their mills and such like that.
So you go to these places?
I do, yeah. Get a lot of meetings and industry meetings and such like that. So play a role in that, part of roundtables in our industry, such like that, on boards and committees and all the things if you want to be active and give back to the industry that's been really good to us overall. But what's unique about my relationship in J-Mac, in my opinion, is though I may do a lot of the buying and sourcing of material, he still reviews a lot of he sets the retails. He's still that involved with it. So you don't usually find a separate buyer and somebody else that's leading the front end of the operation on retails and how we are strategically positioned in the market. So really great to have him as a resource. Not a lot of guys do.
Yeah, I wouldn't know J-Mac if I saw him. I don't think that I've ever been introduced to him.
He comes in every day. We give him a hard time. He comes in at the crack of 10. It's sometimes moving towards the crack of 10, 15. We like to give him a hard time, but honestly, he's an 80-year-old stud. He just had his 80th birthday, and he's 20 years younger than in his mind than his body is, and it's just really great to have him. He keeps 2 offices at the lumberyard. He has the big one in the back where he kind of has command center, and then he keeps another one right on top of accounting. So he's back in accounting too. So he's very much behind the scenes, but very everything that he does is really involved in the company still. Mm-hmm.
So could you fill those shoes?
Oh man, short answer, no. Would I still get the work done? I believe yes. Just I'd go about it different, and we've talked about that. We've talked about that a lot. It's a challenge in a lot of people that have secession or aren't comfortable with their secession plan that goes out. We are very comfortable with where we are, and that really is also a testament to the way that J-Mac has raised us in the company. It was very important to him from early on because he saw so many other operators, families fall apart because they didn't clearly communicate secession and how things were to be. You get a lot of people that are non-contributors but want dividends and have opinions on how things should operate, and then you end up getting too many cooks in the kitchen, or whatever analogy you want to use for that. And Jim was always is very proactive in understanding how that secession piece was to play out for us. And we were very transparent with everybody in how things operated. So a big testament to that part of it. And I think that speaks towards our relationship and why it's so strong, because it's very transparent.
You and Whitney are, I guess, similar to my age, 50-ish?
Yep, 15.
Okay. And you guys have another generation coming up behind you?
Whitney and I don't have children.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, ooh, what's going to happen there? Yeah. We have a couple of nieces and nephews that I told you about that definitely are on the short list. I remind them, like, you need to get your act together because I'm not getting any younger when it comes down to it. But there's a couple of them that are have interest, and if they were to want to come on board with us, then we'd really welcome that.
And how old are they?
They're making their way through college right now. So there's some of them just getting into college, and some of them sophomore, juniors. So, yeah.
That's interesting dynamic to see unfold is those generational businesses. I never wanted mine to be a generational business. I don't know. Did J Mac even think about that? He got it from his dad. Is that right?
Mm-hmm, that's correct. I think that, well, I don't think, I know that the 80s was tough in Tulsa and Oklahoma. Made a lot of people really have to think about what their want is when it came down to it. Whitney, I don't think was on in Jim's eyes was an heir apparent to come through, right? She'd always been in the lumberyard. Whitney worked in the lumberyard, I'll say when she was 5, she was dusting shelves and doing all those things. So all the kids were around, I should say, not just Whit. Whit really kind of took to it and is a lot like her father when it comes down to it. But I don't think that he saw her as coming back to the operation. And it wasn't until, and quite frankly, I think when we were in college, there was opportunities from locals that showed interest, other businesses, other lumberyards in town showed interest in them. And I was to understand that there was a period of time that was a high option, but then there was just a little chance that maybe Sean and Whitney would stick around more than just a summer high school job type deal, because we worked there when we were in high school. And so I don't think that he always had it as a generational
thought.
Yeah, thought. Yeah, I don't think it was.
But it worked out that way.
And it's been great. I can't be more thankful for the path that we have been shown. Would not again been the one that I would have picked, but I wouldn't change anything for what we have done in the period of time we've done it together. I think that's for us, and Whitney and I are definitely an odd couple in a generational family business that we work side by side in what we do.
Yeah, side by side. I mean, your desk is basically right beside.
We are this close. That's right. Yeah, we are this close. Of course, my job takes me outside a lot, and so there is some separation. But it's great to be able to, to.
You have some relief from that.
She gets some from me that she doesn't have to listen to me blah 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 and all day long. Yeah, I mean, there was opportunities to expand the operation. During early 2000s and stuff like that, when there was some other yards that weren't faring as well and had made some, showed us some interest, but it just wasn't what we wanted to do. I really, it had kind of been earmarked that it was like, well, you'll go over there and run that operation or build it up or run it into the ground to do something with it. And we just had some kind of serious talks. I was like, that really wasn't what we signed up for. To be here, because we really do enjoy being together. It was down to it. Mm-hmm.
A lot of couples can't do that.
Yeah,
don't want to do that.
I get that, and I hear that quite a bit. Usually from sales guys, that are, a territory manager guy. That has like Oklahoma. He's on the road Sunday through Thursday, right? I hear that a lot, but we see it different, and it. We also get twice the lifetime together. And so when you find the right person to be with, it's just my opinion. Maybe it's just because my anniversary is coming up and I'm just really working on my street credit with Whitney, but we really do get twice the life together. And it's really, when it's the right person to be with, you just can't get enough of it.
Yeah. During one of the last podcasts that I had, I ran through the quick numbers of how much time most people spend with their family compared to how much time they actually spend at work. And you have 50 hours roughly of work. People work 40 to 50 hours a week, generally speaking, here in the United States. Mm-hmm. And you sleep 50 hours a week, 7 times 7 hours a night sleep. So there is 100 hours. And you have 168 hours in a week. So you have 68 hours. Then you have to deduct the amount of time that you drive to and from work, the time that you spend in public with your family, so you're not really with your family exclusively. And so the one-on-one time that you spend with a spouse, typically speaking, is much less than the time that you spend with your coworker.
Yeah.
You guys don't have that. You guys have tight-knit, spend a lot of time together. and enjoy it.
We do. And Craig, to your point, we just recently lost an employee. His name was Tim Hogan, and he had been with us for 24 years. He was set to retire on his 70th birthday, which was in April, and he ultimately had a heart attack, and he passed away because of complications post that. And I didn't realize how close our work family is. The first person that I worked with in the last 30 years that we've been doing it, that somebody that was an employee that passed away while still employed. And we hadn't experienced that. It was pretty crippling, quite frankly. It really was like losing a loved one when it came down to it. And you realize how much time we spent together, and people have retired and people have gone on their own ways and made career decisions and gone different places. And that's a little different when it comes down to it. But for somebody to abruptly leave your operation in a way, it reminds you how close you are and how much time you spend at work.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys have built an incredible team of people that care about people and care about what they do. And you onboard them, like you said, not often, because the people that are with you stay with you. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Our onboarding process is different. I was reminded of this of a buddy of mine, Peyton Ritter. I know how to say his name because I give him a hard time every time I have told the story before. But our onboarding process, when someone comes in with us, they're going to work 6 to 8 weeks doing something that they won't be doing as their primary job before they actually fall into their role. So they're going to work in everybody else's position over a period of time. I basically liken it to my entire career. We just kind of melt it down into about a 6-week process to bring someone on. So in our opinion, it helps everybody respect what the other person's having to do, so that you don't get caught into this. I don't know what those guys do over there, but if they could do it a little better, or that type of deal. And so it's been a driver comes on to work with us. He's going to spend 6 weeks doing everything else before he actually gets to drive a truck when it comes down to it.
So that they have a better understanding. And it takes a little while for people to become efficient at anything. Is that right?
Yeah.
So this guy that's you're onboarding is 6 weeks of training for the job that he's not even going to do.
That's right.
But you value your people enough to be able to help them understand the other person's perspective?
Yeah. What we found in the few times that we've had to do it is that a lot of people that really work well, what makes it work well for us is the culture that we have, and we hire for the culture, and then we teach them the business when it comes down to it. So there's a lot of qualified people that could come work immediately in our operation, but they don't fit our culture and what we're trying to do. I mean, we are focused on the mom and pop culture that we have going on in our lumberyard, because that's what started it, and we don't want to lose touch of that. So the more respect that everybody has inside of our operation for what the other person's doing helps that customer or that partner that we have in business come in, and we don't just say, oh, well, go, Craig will get you over there, just move over there, not knowing what Craig does on his side of the street, right, when it comes, or in his warehouse or whatever it might be. So we found that it's better to say, hey, when you go over there to see Craig, he's going to help you into the second bin on the right, or something like that, so people understand how the flow goes. So we're not just, go check out aisle 5. You can do that at Home Depot or Lowe's any day.
You think that is a sustainable business model going forward with all of the efficiencies and such that a lot of the other places are doing?
Man, that's a great question. I've been told by everybody in the industry at some point in different aspects of our company that we're doing it the old school way and it will never be successful. And it's still working for 64 years. So I think we're going to continue to go that path. I'm not saying that we can't get better and that we can't blend in technology into that story that I'm telling you. But at the end of the day, no, there's no way that I would change picking the right cultural fit for our company, and then teaching that individual how to be in the business with us. Yeah.
I enjoy going to your company. to your business, and the whole team is very receptive and caring and fairly knowledgeable about whatever it is. And then they also know where their lane's not and where you guys have relationships with people that can help. Hand me over to, you really need to talk to you're this or you're that, whatever that trade might be. And as well, if you don't have one of your own, you guys have people that you have relationships with that can help people through the process of building, because you guys supply materials for things to be built.
Sure.
Who is a good customer for you?
Well, that's a great question. We were just sitting down with the sales group yesterday. A great customer for us. Somebody that pays their bills. We can start there. Like when it comes
somebody that doesn't call you and give you a fake or somebody else's credit card number,
right?
Which you guys had a problem with that many years ago. Right?
Oh yeah.
I had to shut all that down. I called you guys and I was like, "Yeah, this is Craig Lightfoot. You know who I am. We've been dealing business for years. No, we're not going to take your credit card over the phone."
Yep, we had to do that, and quite frankly, I was at the front end of that disaster. Not to belabor the story,
was it like 4 years ago or something like that.
It was right around there. A guy showed up in a rented U-Haul truck, had a credit card and a dream of putting $15,000 worth of material in the back of that U-Haul truck. Showed up about 4:15 in the afternoon, same day that my uncle and my aunt and uncle were in town. And so I was like, oh man, it's going to take a while to get this guy loaded up. I happened to be on the front counter, ran that guy through, swiped his credit card, even hustled outside to help him get loaded so he could get out of there, so everybody could get out at 5, because I was going to go to dinner with our family that was in from out of town, all to find out that it was a compromised, stolen credit card and just the whole deal. It was a phoned in credit card that was falsified, and we realized that that's just not going to be our lane when it comes down to it. And some of the merchant service, a lot of that business has changed a lot. We do welcome credit cards, and I know that people transact with it. We just have to operate under some different merchant rules these days when it comes down to it. But to your point, to your question, the really great customer for us is somebody that is willing to partner with us in what we're trying to accomplish for the end project, knowing that we are humans when it comes down to it, that we do have a level of service and quality that we need to deliver on every time, so they can hold us accountable to that. But then also understand that how we get there is a partnership, understanding lead times, understanding that things are going to go wrong, that there's going to be miscommunications, and that, but also understanding that we're going to get through it together. It's not just a transactional piece that comes through.
Yeah, my uncle was the fellow that at 1:30 on Saturday afternoons, that's what time they shut down. If he was closing up, and he was a worker. I mean, he was an 80 to 100 hour guy, and from building houses to running the lumberyard and this and that. And somebody would come up to 1:35 as he was shutting down. After his doors were locked, he would unlock the door and open it. My cousin's second generation, 1:30, that's it. If you're not in the doors. And as well, that being said, my cousin, while I worked for him in high school, had a plaque on his wall that said, "Your lack of preparation does not create an emergency for me."
Yeah.
And you guys are fair. You guys deliver what you say you're going to deliver at the time you're going to deliver it 99% of the time.
That's fair.
So you set expectations for your customers, which are realistic and fair, and then you deliver what you promise.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key components that we actually go to market with, and internally that we operate on is Sean's delta of disappointment is what we call, or what I call it. And usually if I say the delta of disappointment, everybody starts looking at their shoes like, oh no, here he goes again on his. And it is truly, in my opinion, that there is an expectation and a reality. And if those two things are dialed in on top of each other, then you have a very clear outcome of someone getting what they expected from you. It is also of my opinion that the farther those two things become unfocused, as if they were a binocular and you had an expectation in one hand and a reality in the other, that area in between is the delta of disappointment. So when you asked me earlier what my job is, ultimately my job is to squeeze that delta down to where it just is almost non-existent in all aspects of our company. So whether it is either in inventory outs, or if it's in personnel issues, or if it's in workflow management or production in the door shop or operations and deliveries, whatever it might be, ultimately it is my job to help everybody reach the expectation of the customer.
And you have managers over each one of these departments, I suppose?
We do. I wouldn't say that we actually have somebody that carries the label manager, but we each have a person that we go to that is the go-to when somebody needs that extra help or guidance, the more experienced people that are in those areas.
Yeah, these guys tell you what they think reality is, and you allow them to have some input on how you're gauging that delta and
to get the expectations
to get their set.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
What is the number one thing that you can share with somebody that they might not have been in the shoes of a local business owner, let alone being a multi-generational business owner? What's the one thing that you enjoy the most? And then follow-up question, what is the number one thing that you've learned?
Yeah, by far it's the relationship. I think kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, but the relationship piece in all facets of it are really great. Some of it becomes a stigma. Some of it you try to get away from, like, oh, you're M&M Lumber. I'm like, actually, I'm just Sean up here at the lake, and I just kind of don't want to be tied to, the lumber yard when it comes down to it. But having relationships, whether it's with partners that we do business with transactionally or that we sell material to, or if it's the relationships that we have with people that we buy material from throughout the entire industry. The relationship piece of it really makes it unique when it comes down to it. What's
the number one thing you learned?
The thing I learned the most, adventure? Yeah. And I would say it's regulation and having to deal with just having to navigate today's world as probably what I've had to learn the most, and that I didn't expect to be a part of it. Whether it's from, safety regulations all the way to environmental compliancy, or just insurance and all the compliancy stuff that goes through human resources and such like that. It's just some of that and that's where Whitney really starts to play a role. I've always said that I take care of anything that can complain or break down. That's basically anything that can break or break down. That's going to be me. Anything that requires brain power is going to be Whitney, and that's in the HR piece of it starts to really play a role. Yeah. So
she is you guys compliance officer?
Oh yeah, she's going to deal mostly with HR, AR, accounts payable, stuff like that. She's definitely
and compliance.
Yeah,
compliance is different than that, right?
Well, so no,
HR,
the safety piece and a lot of the compliancy piece is going to fall more back to me from an operational standpoint.
Okay.
And so I'm going to be more involved in safety teams, committees, and whether sales groups, sit down talks. Somebody has to go on a program for their whatever accountability piece that they need. That's going to fall more into me, but it's going to be directed by Whitney to be executed by me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not uncommon for a husband and wife team, for the woman to do more of the office administrative, and the husband to go out and make sure that things are happening. Because I've seen that in the construction field a lot. Or maybe the small trucking companies around town, or whatever it is. The lady stays home. Maybe they have an office in their home. A lot of people, small companies do, as you know.
Yeah.
And the lady stays home and does the administrative work. And the husband goes out and makes it happen with his team.
That's right. I would say Whitney becomes a really unique unicorn in that one because she will go out and load the truck if nobody else is doing it, or if she sees it not going the way she wants it to. And quite frankly, if I'm not holding people accountable at the level and the moment that it needs to be that it needs to happen at, all hands, people will scatter when they see her wit come in. So she's not afraid to roll up her sleeves and get in there. So
I've seen her.
She's got the knowledge. She can certainly make it happen. Yeah.
So people-centric business.
For sure.
And making sure that you do everything that is necessary to keep in compliance.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a great way to function and is very inspirational. And a lot of people that have never owned a small business, mid-sized business, small business, SBA says less than 500 people. You guys qualify for that, right?
We do. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we always will.
So it's amazing to me to get the insights that we have here at Tulsa Talks of people of all walks of life. And a lot of people have never been in your shoes. And a lot of people probably think that they might want to be, but without these skill sets
Yeah.
and without these life experiences that you were willing to go through, and without your specific gifts and abilities that you were born with, could this not be a nightmare?
I'd honestly,
it fits you.
It does fit me. I think there was I don't know if it's coming up or before I was truly committed to the company and what the family had allows me to be a part of, I guess would be a way to say it. Before I was fully committed, and there was always there was a work Sean and then there was a not work Sean, right? And
so there was a not work Sean and then there became a work Sean?
Yeah, there was always a Sean at work and there was a Sean not at work, right? Yeah, so there was the guy that was there before it opened and all the way until it closed, and then as soon as I was out of there, then I was off swimming, biking, running, hunting, fishing, doing other things.
Not that way now?
Still that way, but wasn't as transparent. I guess where I'm headed is that now there is just Sean, right? And those two things have now completely committed to the company, not changing like my life outside of work as a delineated line. And maybe those two people, those two ids, if you will, have become one. So it's work Sean and not work Sean blends in together, and it makes it a more transparent piece. It makes, quite frankly, I think a person more approachable by others as opposed to just having your work hat on or having your not work hat on when it comes down to it. And so that's probably been one of the biggest challenges for me to deal with everything, because I was always trying to put it in the work box or the not work box. And it doesn't always work that way. That's not how you play when it's a family-owned company and you have to be all things at all time. Yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge, to figure out how to maneuver all that and accept it, and instead of trying to resist against it, just say, hey, look, this is me. I'm not perfect, but man, we're going to try every day to try to get something done for you. I think that what was handed down to me by a really great dispatcher is like, we're going to go in the ditch every day. At some point, like the proverbial ditch, whether it's a truck or we're going to break someone's windshield or do something, loading a truck or whatever. Nobody remembers the ditch before you win it. They always just remember the mess you leave getting out, and that's what they remember you by. So if we can continue to try to minimize the mess when we exit the ditch, that's what people will remember us by to come back again.
You guys have never put me in the ditch when I've had a transaction with you.
Yeah, well, not our intent, but sometimes sometimes that expectation and reality get off from each other, and you just try to get it all back together so that everybody understands what's going on.
Yeah, and I think you're being more transparent, and people might misunderstand a very small percentage of the time.
Probably.
It's a very small percentage of the time.
Sure.
You guys are a Class A top-notch company. I appreciate you guys being who you've been in my life to support what I needed from you guys. Very patient with me. and understanding that I did remodel a couple of houses, and I'm not a professional remodeler, and y'all held my hand through the process. In fact, we're remodeling my daughter's house right now, which I'm sure you're well aware of that.
That's right.
And she's not a professional remodeler either. And she's definitely learning as we go. And it's been very kind of you to lead us as you have and supplied everything that we needed as we needed them. So at Tulsa Talks, we know that your voice matters. I hope you know your voice matters. Sean, yours really matters in my life. Without you, I couldn't have done what I've done in those fields that we talked about today. And at the Complete Peace Movement, we can know that we are a piece of the complete peace, and we can say, I am a piece. And find your lane, even if it's not what you intended, it's not what you dreamed of. Man here, successful, small, medium-sized businessman, jovial heart, caring about people, knows what peace he is. But he didn't know it when he started.
Not at all, yeah. Fair. That's fair.
And now he can say, I am this piece. And he has these people around him that are those pieces, helping him along his journey. So as you go, remember, your voice matters, and you should know that you are a piece of the complete peace.
We are here to help you discover or develop your passions, how you can use them, and why you exist. How can we help you help others better?